Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. Today commemorates the 80th anniversary of the fall of Rabaul during the Second World War. My name is Melanie Cassar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1, Cheryl Elston. We warmly welcome Mr. John King, President of the Returned and Services League of Australia, ACT branch. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Alfred William Hawkins. Alfred Hawkins was born in Goolgong in New South Wales on the 10th of February 1902. Alfred grew up alongside his siblings Gladys, Dorrie, Bert and Lloyd, with the children raised by their mother, Emily. By the time of the Second World War, Alfred, his wife Nita and their child were living in the Sydney suburb of Matraville, where Alfred worked as a dentist. Hawkins had joined the militia early on in the war, putting his skills as a dentist to good use within the Australian Army Medical Corps. In February 1941, he enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force and joined the 19th Specialist Dental Unit at Sydney. After a period of pre-embarkation leave in mid-May 1941, Private Hawkins embarked from Sydney on the troop ship Katoomba, joining the 2nd 22nd Battalion. The group sailed to Rabaul, the peacetime capital of the Australian mandated territory of New Guinea, where they joined the local unit of the New Guinea Volunteer Rifles, Coastal Defence and Anti-Aircraft Batteries, and the elements of the 2nd 10th Field Ambulance and the 17th Anti-Tank Battery to form Lark Force. Later, supported by the No. 24 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force, Lark Force was responsible for protecting airfields at Lakanui and Vanakanu and the seaplane base at Rabaul. They also provided early warning of Japanese movements through the islands to Australia's north. Like the other forces named after birds, Lark Force was ill-equipped and likely to be overwhelmed by enemy attack. Nonetheless, the men spent months constructing defences and training for operation in a tropical environment. Japanese bombing of the island of New Britain began in early January 1942, increasing in intensity as the month continued. By the morning of the 22nd of January, No. 24 Squadron had been virtually destroyed and its 3 remaining aircraft were withdrawn. With no use for the airstrips, they were destroyed, and Lark Force withdrew from Rabaul, waiting on the western shores of Blanche Bay for the inevitable Japanese landings. These began at 1 a.m. on the 23rd of January. By 9 a.m, communication failures and the overwhelming Japanese strength, 5,000 troops against 1,400 of Lark Force, destroyed the cohesion of the Australian defence. The Lark Force commander, Colonel John Scanlon, on the morning of the 23rd of January, ordered a withdrawal on the basis of every man for himself. Unprepared for retreat, among the troops chaos ensued and the Lark Force disintegrated. Over the following days, groups, ranging in size from entire companies to pairs and individuals, sought escape along the north and south coast. Some found small boats and escaped. Others were picked up by larger vessels operating from New Guinea. Around 400 members of Lark Force made it to Australia, and about 160 Australians were captured by the Japanese while trying to escape and were massacred at Toll Plantation. Hawkins was among some 840 survivors who were interned as prisoners of war. Early in the morning of the 22nd of June 1942, Hawkins and other prisoners were ordered to board the Montevideo Maru, which sailed unescorted for Hainan Island, keeping to the east of the Philippines in an effort to avoid Allied submarines. 8 days into the voyage, the Montevideo Maru was spotted by an American submarine, USS Sturgeon, which manoeuvred into position to fire one of its 4 stern torpedoes. Survivors from the Japanese crew reported 2 torpedoes striking the vessel, followed by an explosion in the oil tank in the aft hold. The ship sank in as little as 11 minutes. Although the Japanese crew were ordered to abandon ship, it does not appear they made any attempt to assist the prisoners to do likewise. The ship's lifeboats were launched, but all capsized and one suffered severe damage. While the exact number and identity of the more than 1,000 men aboard the vessel has never been confirmed, an estimated 845 military personnel and as many as 208 civilian personnel lost their lives in the tragedy. Among the dead was Alfred Hawkins. He was 40 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Alfred William Hawkins, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We appreciate your visit despite the challenges posed by COVID and wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.